Emojis, emojis, emojis. Every time I go on social media, somebody posts a statement and then they have to put about 15 to 20 emojis next to it. And when you're looking at it from your cell phone, they're this big. You can't even see what the emojis are half the time. It's bullshit. That's right. Today I'm going to show you how to make what I think is the funniest emoji out there. Maybe not, maybe you don't think so. I actually think it's quite comical, and I found out that this emoji, the poop emoji, is also the #1 emoji used in Canada, and I think it was in the top 6 used emojis in the United States. And you know what? It's very easy to make. It's probably one of the easiest cookies I decorated, and you don't have to buy any kind of special cookie cutter to do it. I'm going to show you how to make a template, and I'm going to show you how to decorate these cookies. Now, what you will need to do before, in advance, is make the cookie dough, and you're going to need to make the royal icing. Now, if you're watching this video from my YouTube channel, in the box below, the description box, I have the link to my blog, the specific link to these cookies, and you will need to go back and forth with the blog with this video. They work together because I do have a link to recipes for the cookies. I have a link to the royal icing. I also have a complete supply list that you will need to make these cookies as well, so you don't have to keep repeating this video, going back to the beginning to see what you missed when you go to the store to buy it. So be sure to check out that link below. And most of these supplies you can buy in your local craft store. Now, before you start the cookies, one of the first things you want to do is you want to make the template. So to do that, I found this picture of the poop emoji, and I saved it on my computer and I printed it out. And I also have this picture on the blog, on my blog, at the link below with the supply list. If you scroll down, this picture's at the bottom. So you could just print this off, adjust it to any size cookie you want. You don't really want to make them really tiny cookies. They're harder to decorate. And if you make them really huge, well, most people don't want such a giant cookie. I think this size, which is about 4 inches tall, is a pretty good size for me. I just like the size. It makes the cookies really stand out. You're also going to need to get a piece of acetate, and you're going to need some Scotch tape. And here I have an edible food marker. This is Wilton brand. It's Food Writers, available in almost any craft store. It's even available in Walmart. And what you're going to do is you want to Scotch tape the edges around here to hold the template, to hold the picture steady. And then you're going to put the plastic on top, and you could even tape that down as well. And with your food writer, you're just going to trace around the border of the picture. Now, when you're done doing that, you also want to get the details of this in here. I notice I got the eyes in here, I got the mouth, and I even have some of the lines because we're going to be outlining this with some royal icing. And you don't have to be a great artist to do this. I'm terrible at freestyle drawing, and yet I can make these cookies. It's that simple. After you're done tracing around the edges, you want to take an X-Acto knife or a good pair of scissors and just cut the picture out, trying to get it as close to the lines as you can, as neatly as you can as well. Now, once your cookie dough is made, it should be refrigerated. You could chill it for up overnight, even that long. Now, but once you take it out, it's going to be kind of hard, so you want to play around with it just a little bit by kneading it just to soften it up. And once it's soft enough to be able to roll out, we're going to take some flour and just flour the surface down a little bit, only if it starts to stick. If it doesn't stick, then you could skip flouring the surface. And I also want to put a little bit of flour on the rolling pin. And you're going to need either a plastic knife or a butter knife. You could use either one. We want it sharp enough to be able to cut through the dough, but not so sharp where it's going to cut through my silicone mat. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to roll out the cookie dough till it's about 1/4 of an inch thick. And I like to flip it around in between. So I'll roll it out some, flip it. If I need some more flour, just put a little bit more flour on it. I just find when you flip it around, it tends to help it from sticking. Once my dough's rolled out to about a quarter of an inch thick, I'm then going to place the template on top, and with the plastic knife, I'm just going to cut around the template, making sure that I go all the way through. And there you have one cookie already cut. I'm going to make 2 of them. Turn that one upside down. And I'm just going to go back through to make sure it's cut all the way down to the mat. And then just peel away the excess dough. Now, if you're working in a kitchen that's very hot, you want to work very fast with this. You don't want the dough to get too warm, or else it will be a little bit harder to cut this, so it'll be way too soft. See how easy this is to just cut it right out. It's not falling out of shape. It's just a very firm dough. Now, you'll notice I have pieces of dough stuck here. You could just go back around and just clean the edges up a bit with your knife. Okay, and I'm going to take with the spatula, and I'm just going to put this on my baking pan. And I'm going to bake these cookies at 350 degrees in a preheated oven for about 10 minutes. They may take a little bit longer. They may take a little less. It really will depend on how big you make your cookies, and it will depend on how thick you make them as well. So you want to check them after about 8 or 9 minutes, and you'll know when they're done because the edges will be a golden brown color. Don't overbake them and don't underbake them. If don't have some sort of brownish edge, then they're not done. They'll be too soft and the cookie will break when you're trying to decorate it. And if it's overdone, well, it has that burnt taste to it, and it's just very, very hard. Nobody will be able to bite into it when it's done. You'll notice that my cookies have a golden brown color around the edges, and that's how I know they're done, and they're perfect. Once they're finished baking, you want to let them cool completely before decorating them. If they're still warm, the royal icing will break down. It'll be runny and drippy, and it's just a mess to work with. So you want them to be 100% cool. Also, as they cool, they harden. So it's not going to fall apart when I pick it up. We don't want anything too soft. That's why you want to make sure it's baked well. Now you're going to want to have on hand the picture that we made the template from, just so we could see the detail. I have the template, which, as I had stated earlier, I drew the lines in of the detail. I drew the eyes, the mouth as well. I have a few toothpicks here. I also have a T-pin. Now you can use a straight pin or even a sewing needle. Just make sure it's clean. I have a box of these that I bought just for cake decorating. I have my edible marker, and I have here my outline consistency dark brown icing, and I have here also my flood consistency medium brown, and I have a paper towel here because this will be a little bit messy. If you're really good at eyeballing this, you could draw in the details as so, and we're not going to draw in the eyes and the mouth because we're going to do that later on, but we want to draw in these lines where I guess the twists and the turns of where the poop is. And if you're not good at drawing, eyeballing it, you could use your pin and just place the template back on top and just push a few holes into the areas where the lines are. You want to make sure you have it where it starts and stops. And this will give you a bit of a guide. And there's also going to be a line here going across to the mouth. I didn't draw it on the template, but I could see it where the picture is. It's just a slight line, and I do want to outline it. So what I do then is, just to be able to see the lines a little bit more, I'll take my edible marker and I'm just going to go across. Like this, just to draw it in, and this is just going to go about halfway down like that. Just go across. And with the outlining icing, just going to pour a little bit here to get it to the tip. This should be fairly thick. And I'm going to go around and outline this. Now you can start anywhere you want. I'm left-handed, so I'm going to start on my right side so I could see where I'm going. If you're right-handed, you could start on this side. Now keep in mind how I'm doing this. I'm going to start it now. I always keep the tip off of the cookie and just let it flow out. And you want to have a pressure, a consistent pressure on the bag so that it's falling out, it's flowing out of the bag. And if you mess up, the line breaks or it falls off the side, that's where you can use your toothpicks to scrape it up and just redo the line. And if this is the correct consistency, then it should flow out nice and smoothly. And then from there I'm going to just go over the marker lines. And with the next one as well. And next I'm going to take my flooding icing. You can see it's dripping, already starting to drip out. It's a thinner consistency. It's also a little lighter in color, and I'm just going to fill it in. Now this is a number 2 tip on here, where the outline was a number 3 tip. Now if it's too big of a tip, you could go down to a number 1 tip. But I think this is perfect, and I'm just going to fill it in, starting around the sides of the outline, trying to get as close as I can to the outline as possible. And then once I do that, I could just color it in. And you can see how it's flowing together. As long as it's the right consistency, that it should flow together. Then I'm going to take my pin and just blend it in, making sure all the sides are covered. And if it doesn't look even, if you have little dips or if it's not covering enough, just go back and put some more on. And then I'm going to go through the next section. And you want to work fairly quickly because this will set up within a minute. This will start to form a coating on top and set up. And sometimes it will drip out the sides. That's because it's thin. So I tend to keep an extra paper towel. And this happens to be an old pastry bag that's getting ready for the trash, so it's not really in the best shape. But that's okay. Now that I'm done filling in these cookies, I'm going to let them sit for anywhere from 6 to 8 hours until they dry pretty much completely. It may take even a little longer than that, depending on the climate that you're in. If it's in a warm, humid climate, it'll take longer. You can even let these sit overnight and finish them tomorrow, but you do want them to be nice and dry. It's been about 6 or 7 hours now, and I want to make sure this is dry enough. What you can do is just take a finger and press down at about a medium pressure, and if the cookie doesn't indent, then it's hard enough to move on. And if you notice in the picture, the eye, where the eyes and the mouth are located, I also have that on the template that I drew. Now again, you could do this freehand if that's what you're good at, but I'm not. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to place the template back on the cookie, and just lightly I'm going to go around the circle of the eye, and I'm going to, with my straight pin, I'm just going to lightly push in, just enough to make a mark on the cookie. You don't want to push it in too hard, because then you'll just crack the whole icing. Learn from my mistakes, I've done that. So I'm going to go around there, do that. I'm going to do it on the other side and try and hold the template in place so it doesn't move around. And then I'm going to do the same thing for the mouth. I'm going to just go around and just poke some light holes where the mouth should be. And when you're done, I don't know if the camera will catch this, but there are some indentations all around there. Now again, what you can do is you could go back around with your edible marker and just draw around, or you can just make little dots around there just so that you'll be able to see it a little bit better. And I'm going to make some light circles around here. Just a very thin light marking. And with your number 2 flooding icing, and I have a tip number 2 tip to make the number 2. I'm just going to squeeze it down, outline the eyes, and then fill them in. And you want to make sure if you did draw lines that you cover the line completely. So I'm just going to go around here and just smooth out the edges, fill in some of the areas I may have missed with the piping bag. And now I'm going to let these dry. These you want completely dry. Probably won't finish this until tomorrow. And then we're going to put the black eyeballs into the cookie. It's been overnight and the icing is completely dry. And again, the last part that we're going to do with this are the eyeballs. And you could do it freehand, or you could use your template, just place it over the eye, and with your straight pin, just lightly poke the holes to line it up. And with my black flood consistency icing, I'm just going to go around where the holes that I poked are. And I'm using a number 1 tip. And also you could just go and reshape this if it doesn't come out perfect. And there you go. Now just let these dry and then you can serve them up. Well guys, shit served on a silver platter is still shit. But this is the best tasting shit you'll ever eat. And if somebody ever says eat shit, well, just take a bite out of one of these cookies. For your comments below, please leave them. I'm sure I'm going to get some pretty funny captions down there. For this recipe and for all the other recipes, go to cinnamonsweetshoppe.com. Make sure you subscribe to this channel for more cake decorating, cookie decorating, and baking tutorials. And until next time, bye.